Hello, Team BaseCamp. Hey, Coach Tim here with a week 6 preview. Hard to imagine it's week 6 already, huh? Okay, the magic word of the week is tempo, and we're going to be working on our tempo rhythm. Tempo is a moderate, hard pace. You're doing work, maybe not so much work that you're inside out and really suffering on the bike, but yeah, it's hard enough you know you're doing something. We are going to be doing 3 days of tempo work this week, each in a different format. So it's really important you're focusing on your post workout recovery, good sleeping, and good nutrition habits during this week, because this is the kind of week that gets a little sneaky and it can kind of wear you down. You can get a little extra fatigue when you're not keeping up with everything. Okay, looking at some of the specific workouts, we have 3 different types of tempo. On Tuesday, we have power tempo, which is a hard start tempo. We're going to go hard for about 2 minutes and then settle in to our tempo range. Hard means just over threshold. Then on Thursday, we're doing tempo with low cadence surges, again, just over threshold. Then we're doing some big gear progression tempo work later on Saturday. So the reason you see these mixed dynamic intervals, instead of just saying, hey, let's just turn it up to tempo power and just and do the diesel thing, is 2 reasons. One, tempo is a pace where we're mixing fuel sources, but yet fats is just a little bit more your dominant of the two fuels. It isn't until really we start getting over about 85% of threshold do you really start burning more carbs as the main fuel source. And it's not exact, it's not a light switch, but just to understand around 80, we're sitting just under that ratio. We're mixing carbs and fats as fuels, but we're still fat dominant. This builds metabolic versatility. Then sometimes we pop over threshold, whether it's the hard start on Tuesday, the surges on Thursday, and we engage more fast switch muscle fiber. We burn more carbs. Now carbs quickly become the dominant because we were running just under that level, and we produce byproducts. The main byproducts that we're dealing with is lactate, and the other is CO2. But let's focus on lactate. We do a lot of things with lactate. You always hear these different lactate terms. Do you tolerate? Do you buffer? Do you shuttle? There's all types of different things that happen to lactate. We tend to call it manage, the lactate management, because all those things are actually happening. They all play a role. There's a lot of things going on with how our body deals with the byproduct of higher intensity exercise, which is lactate. Again, other things like CO2 and stuff like that. Now, we're also going to be working on that CO2 when we're in our tempo zones and doing these little over unders. And we are going to be working on breathing very heavily this week. And we're going to be talking about getting oxygen into the system, but more importantly, getting CO2 out of the system. Getting CO2 out of the system is really, really important. And it's actually what drives the increase in your respiratory rate, how fast you're breathing. But we'll talk about that a lot this week. We're going to work on the gears of breathing this week. I know the alumni all know what that is and are probably already doing it, but that's going to be a focus. Finally, of note, we have this big gear workout here on Saturday. Always be careful. If you're somebody with tender knees or some bad ankles, do what you can. These are some pretty low cadence work. We tend to use the terminology strength building. They do not build strength. They're not hard enough. The resistance isn't hard enough, but they do improve our coordination, the way we recruit motor units as we pedal. And they do improve our muscular endurance, our force endurance over time. So we have 2 pure tempo days and then this big gear, grindy kind of tempo day for the grinders. And then finally, our endurance day on Sunday, we're going to start seeing the addition of some sprints late in the ride. If you're on one of our Sunday, one of Paul's Dawn Patrol rides on Sunday, we talked about not doing sprints in the middle of the ride, but moving them to the end. And we'll talk about that this week also. Awesome. It's going to be an exciting week 6. Eat well, sleep well, and get to all the work. Thanks, everybody.